What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest stars walks onto a daytime talk show expecting to promote a new project, and instead finds himself in the middle of a tense, unscripted confrontation? What happens when the smiles fade, the applause dies down, and a simple question turns into a pointed challenge on live television? Make sure to subscribe to Echo Stars and like and comment for more talk show coverage. The cameras roll. The audience is clapping loudly as Dwayne Johnson walks out, smiling wide, waving, shaking hands with the hosts at the table of The View. He hugs Whoopi, gives Joy a quick handshake, and takes his seat next to Sunny Hostin. The energy is warm, upbeat, exactly what you expect from a daytime show. Whoopi leans in first, smiling. Dwayne Johnson is here. You've got a new film coming out, you've got businesses, you've got everything going on. Do you ever sleep? The audience laughs. Dwayne grins. Not much, but I love what I do. I get to tell stories, I get to connect with people. That's the blessing. Joy jumps in. And you're producing now, which means you're the boss. He chuckles. Sometimes. Depends who you ask. The crowd laughs again. Everything feels smooth. Sunny adjusts her notes slightly and looks up. Her tone is still polite, but more focused. You've also been very open about speaking on social issues in the past, she says. You've endorsed candidates before. You've encouraged civic engagement. But recently, you said you regret publicly endorsing in the last election cycle because of the backlash. Some people felt that was you backing away from accountability. Why step back now? There's a slight shift in the audience. It's subtle, a quieting. Dwayne nods slowly. That's a fair question, he says calmly. For me, it wasn't about backing away. It was about realizing that when you have a platform that big, sometimes the noise around it can overshadow the actual message. Sunny doesn't look fully satisfied. But isn't that part of leadership? Taking the heat. A few audience members murmur. Dwayne keeps his posture relaxed. Leadership also means listening. I listened to people on all sides who felt divided. I don't regret encouraging people to vote. I regret how polarized it became. Sunny leans in slightly. But polarization exists whether you speak or not. So stepping back, doesn't that send a message too? The energy tightens just a bit. Whoopi tries to smooth it. I think what Sunny's asking is, Sunny gently interrupts. No, I'm asking directly. Because influence matters. And when someone with your reach says, I'm stepping back, it can feel like you're choosing comfort over clarity. The audience goes quiet again. Dwayne pauses. Not defensive. Measured. I'm not choosing comfort, he says. I'm choosing unity. I grew up in a very complicated household. I've seen division up close. My goal has always been bringing people together. Sunny nods, but she presses. Unity is a beautiful word, but it's also often used to avoid taking a stand. So I'm trying to understand. What do you stand for now? There it is. The first sharp edge. Joy shifts in her seat. Okay, we're getting serious, she mutters lightly, trying to break the tension. The audience gives a nervous chuckle. Dwayne's expression doesn't change much, but his voice lowers slightly, more deliberate. I stand for hard work. I stand for respect. I stand for taking care of your family and your community. And I stand for conversations like this, even when they're uncomfortable. Sunny responds quickly. But those are universal values. I'm asking specifically, on policy, on leadership, on the direction of this country. Whoopi glances at Sunny. We're not turning this into Meet the Press, she says half-jokingly. But Sunny continues. No, because our viewers want clarity. The audience splits, a few claps, a few murmurs. Dwayne looks directly at Sunny now. Clarity doesn't always mean picking a side publicly, he says. Sometimes it means doing the work privately. Sunny raises an eyebrow. Respectfully, that sounds vague. There's an audible, oh, from somewhere in the audience. Joy jumps in. Okay. But Dwayne doesn't raise his voice. I understand why you'd want specifics, he says calmly. But I'm not running for office. I'm an entertainer who cares about people. Sunny responds immediately. But you've flirted with the idea of running before. More murmurs. Dwayne smiles slightly. The media has flirted with that idea. I've said I love my country. Sunny doesn't back down. You said you would consider it. Whoopi leans back. And a lot of people say that. The tension is building, not explosive, but noticeable. Dwayne folds his hands on the table. Let me say this clearly, he begins. I believe in accountability. I believe in fairness. I believe in lifting people up who are struggling. But I also believe in not adding more gasoline to a fire that's already burning. Sunny's tone sharpens just slightly. Some would argue silence adds gasoline. There's a mix of applause and uneasy silence. For the first time, Dwayne's smile fades a little. Not angry, serious. Silence and stepping back are not the same thing, he says. I'm not silent. I just choose how and when I engage. Sunny holds his gaze. And when is the right time? The audience can feel it now. This isn't playful anymore. Dwayne answers without hesitation. When it actually helps someone instead of scoring points. That lands. A few claps break out. Sunny exhales lightly, almost a half smile. So you think this is about scoring points? Dwayne shakes his head. I think a lot of political conversations on television turn into that. I'm not accusing you personally. Sunny responds quickly. But you are on television right now. The audience reacts again, a louder murmur. Whoopi finally steps in more firmly. Okay, hold on. We invite guests here to have conversations. And we can disagree without assuming motives. Dwayne nods. Exactly. Sunny leans back slightly but doesn't look convinced. I just think if you're going to speak about unity, you have to be prepared to define it. Dwayne looks directly into the camera for a brief second, then back at the table. Unity means I can sit here with you, disagree respectfully, and not walk off stage. That line gets applause. Joy laughs. Well, that's good, because we just got back from commercial break. The tension eases for a moment, but it's not gone. Sunny glances at her notes again. We'll continue this after the break, she says evenly. The audience claps as the show heads to commercial, but the atmosphere feels different now. Less promotional, more real. As the cameras pull away, you can see the hosts exchanging quick side glances. Dwayne sits upright, calm but clearly aware the conversation has shifted into deeper waters. And when they come back from break, things don't cool down. They come back from commercial, and the energy is noticeably different. The applause is still there, but it's tighter, less playful. You can feel the audience leaning forward instead of relaxing back. Whoopi smiles professionally. We're back with Dwayne Johnson. Before the break, we were having a lively conversation about public influence and responsibility. Joy lets out a small laugh. Lively is one word. The audience chuckles. Sunny doesn't smile this time. She looks composed, serious. Dwayne, I want to continue where we left off. Because I think it matters. When someone with your reach speaks about unity without taking clear positions, some communities feel abandoned. That's not about scoring points. That's about impact. Dwayne nods slowly. And I hear that. I really do. Sunny leans in. So let me ask you directly, when policies affect marginalized communities, do you believe neutrality helps them? The audience reacts softly, a low murmur. Dwayne pauses before answering. He doesn't rush. I don't believe in neutrality when people are hurting, he says carefully. But I also don't believe that posting or endorsing publicly is the only way to support people. Sunny responds quickly. But it's a powerful way. Joy jumps in. It can also divide your audience in half. Sunny turns slightly toward Joy. Sometimes division happens because justice isn't comfortable. The audience claps at that. A few louder cheers. Dwayne keeps his tone steady. Justice isn't a social media strategy, he says. It's real lives, real work, real policies. Sunny doesn't blink. Exactly. So where do you stand on those policies? Whoopi exhales softly. Okay, but Dwayne answers before she can redirect. I stand for equal opportunity. I stand against discrimination in any form. I stand for access to education, healthcare, and safety. But I'm not going to sit here and turn this into a campaign rally. The audience claps lightly. Sunny tilts her head. That still sounds like a speech. There's an audible "oh" from the crowd. Dwayne's jaw tightens just slightly, not angry but firmer now. It's not a speech, he says. It's my life. I grew up watching my parents struggle. I know what it's like to not have stability. That's why I do the work I do. Sunny responds, voice controlled but sharper. And I respect your background. I do. But when powerful people step back from direct political engagement, historically, it hasn't always helped the vulnerable. Joy sighs audibly. We're not electing him today. Sunny turns toward Joy briefly. No one said we were. But influence isn't accidental. The audience splits again, some applause, some discomfort. Dwayne leans forward slightly now. Let me ask you something, he says calmly. Sunny nods. Sure. Do you believe every actor, every athlete, every public figure is obligated to publicly align with a party or candidate? Sunny answers without hesitation. If they choose to enter political conversations, yes. Accountability comes with that. And if they don't, he asks, then they should be honest about why. Dwayne nods once. I have been honest. I said the division got too intense. It stopped being about helping people and started being about attacking each other. Sonny's voice rises just a notch. Division doesn't disappear because you step away from it. And it doesn't heal because I post about it either. Dwayne replies, still measured but firmer. The audience claps louder this time. Whoopi steps in gently. Let's take a breath. We're talking about two different approaches to engagement. Sonny shakes her head slightly. No, we're talking about responsibility. Dwayne looks directly at her. Responsibility also means knowing your lane. There's a sharp reaction from the audience, a mix of applause and surprised gasps. Sonny's eyebrows lift. My lane. I'm saying, he clarifies quickly, I'm not a policymaker. I'm not an elected official. I don't pretend to have all the answers. I support causes. I donate. I show up. But I'm not going to simplify complex issues into sound bites. Sonny's tone cools, but it's firm. We're not asking for sound bites. We're asking for clarity. And I'm giving you clarity, Dwayne responds. Clarity is this. I will not be pressured into declaring political loyalty to satisfy anyone. The audience applauds loudly now. Joy leans back, eyebrows raised. Okay. Sonny holds eye contact. It's not about loyalty. It's about values. Dwayne nods. Then judge me by my values. Sonny counters immediately. We're trying to. That's why we're asking. There's another tense pause. Whoopi glances at the producer off camera, then back at the table. This is live television, she says with a half smile. And this is what happens when you bring big personalities together. The audience laughs nervously. Dwayne softens his tone slightly. Sonny, I respect what you're doing. I really do. You're advocating for clarity because you care. I get that. Sonny listens but doesn't interrupt. But what I won't accept, he continues, is the idea that if I don't engage the way you prefer, I'm somehow less committed to justice or fairness. The crowd claps again, stronger this time. Sonny exhales slowly. No one said less committed. It's implied, he says evenly. When you say stepping back equals abandonment. The room goes quiet. Sonny pauses. That line hit. She responds carefully. I said it can feel like abandonment to some communities. And I'm telling you, Dwayne says, voice steady but firm, that feeling doesn't define intent. The audience murmurs thoughtfully. Joy finally jumps in again. I think what we're seeing here is the tension between symbolic action and practical action. Whoopi nods. Exactly. Sonny looks at Dwayne. Then let's talk practical action. Beyond donations and statements, what are you doing to influence change? Dwayne doesn't hesitate this time. I fund education programs. I mentor veterans transitioning to civilian life. I invest in small businesses in underserved communities. Quietly, without cameras, there's a strong round of applause. Sonny nods slowly. That matters. It does, he says. But public advocacy also matters, she adds. And I haven't stopped advocating, he replies. I've just stopped endorsing candidates. That distinction hangs in the air. Whoopi leans in. And that's a difference. Sonny looks at Dwayne, studying him for a moment. So if a future election presents a clear moral contrast, you would still stay neutral? Audience leans forward again. Dwayne answers carefully. If there's a moment where silence truly equals harm, I won't be silent. That earns applause. Sonny nods once. That's clearer. But there's still tension in her expression. Joy looks at both of them. Well, at least nobody's stormed off yet. The audience laughs loudly at that. Dwayne smiles slightly. Not my style. Sonny allows herself a small smile too. I can appreciate that. The mood softens just a fraction, but the intensity hasn't fully disappeared. It's shifted into something deeper. Less combative, more philosophical. Whoopi looks at the camera. This is why we have these conversations. They're not always neat. The audience claps again, this time more evenly. But as the segment continues, you can feel something unresolved still sitting between them. The disagreement isn't explosive, it's principled. And that kind of tension doesn't fade quickly. And just when it seems like they might move on to promoting the movie, Sonny picks up her notes again. And the next question changes the tone all over again. Sonny glances down at her notes, then back up at Dwayne, and the shift is immediate. The promotional smiles are gone again. Before we move on, she says calmly, there's something else I want to address. You've built a brand around being relatable, around resilience, around hard work. But some critics argue that your messaging about anyone can make it if they grind hard enough ignores systemic barriers. Do you think that narrative sometimes oversimplifies reality? The audience reacts with a mix of murmurs and soft applause. Dwayne doesn't look surprised. If anything, he looks prepared. I think it depends on how you hear it, he says. When I talk about hard work, I'm speaking from my experience. I was evicted at 14. I had $7 in my pocket at one point. Hard work was all I had. Sonny nods. And that story inspires people. No question. But not everyone starts from the same place. Some people work just as hard and never get the same opportunities. Joy jumps in. That's true. Dwayne turns toward Joy and nods. Absolutely true. I've never said the system is perfect. Sonny presses gently. But when powerful people emphasize individual grit over structural reform, it can unintentionally send the message that those who don't succeed just didn't try hard enough. There's a heavier silence now. This is less about politics, more about philosophy. Dwayne leans back slightly, thinking. That's not my message, he says firmly. My message is, control what you can control. Sonny replies quickly, but some people can't control the barriers placed in front of them. And I acknowledge that, he says. But I refuse to tell people they're powerless. The audience claps at that. Sonny tilts her head. There's a difference between empowering people and ignoring systems that need reform. Dwayne's tone sharpens just a touch. I'm not ignoring anything. I'm choosing to focus on what builds strength. Sonny responds immediately. Strength without access still leaves people locked out. That line hits. The audience murmurs. Whoopi steps in softly. Okay, let's slow down. We're not saying Dwayne doesn't believe in reform. Sonny nods but doesn't back off. I'm asking whether your platform could be used to advocate more directly for policy change instead of just personal motivation. Dwayne leans forward now. The calm is still there, but there's intensity underneath. Let me be clear, he says. I invest in communities. I sit with lawmakers privately. I push for change behind the scenes. Just because I don't broadcast every meeting doesn't mean I'm not engaged. There's applause again. Sonny listens, then responds evenly. Transparency also builds trust. And performance builds applause, Dwayne replies, not raising his voice. There's an audible reaction from the audience, louder this time. Sonny's eyebrows lift slightly. Are you saying advocacy on television is performance? I'm saying, he answers carefully, that sometimes public debates become about optics instead of outcomes. Joy nods slowly. He's not wrong about that. Sonny glances at Joy. Optics matter when you're influencing millions. Dwayne's expression hardens just a bit. And so do results. There's a long pause. The air feels tight. Sonny folds her hands. So if a young viewer watching right now is facing discrimination, facing systemic inequality, what do you tell them? Just work harder. The question lands heavily. Dwayne answers without hesitation. I tell them they deserve fairness. I tell them the system isn't always fair. I tell them to build skills, build community, demand better, and not let anyone define their worth. The audience applauds strongly. Sonny nods slowly. And who changes the system? All of us, he says. But especially those with power, she adds. Dwayne looks directly at her. Power isn't just fame. Sonny responds instantly. It's influence. And influence can be used quietly or loudly, he says. The audience is completely silent now, listening closely. Whoopi leans back in her chair, observing carefully. Joy looks between them, clearly aware this has gone far beyond a promotional segment. Sonny's voice softens slightly, but it's still firm. Let me ask you something personal. Do you worry that by trying to stay above political labels, you risk being seen as playing it safe? That question draws a collective from the crowd. Dwayne pauses longer this time. He exhales through his nose. I'm not afraid of being criticized, he says. I'm afraid of adding more division. Sonny responds quietly. Sometimes taking a stand causes division. And sometimes it deepens it, he counters. The tension is no longer sharp, it's layered. This isn't shouting. It's two strong perspectives colliding. Joy finally jumps in again. I think what Sonny is saying is that neutrality can feel like comfort. And what you're saying is that loud partisanship can feel like chaos. Dwayne nods. That's fair. Sonny nods too. That's accurate. For a brief moment, there's balance. But then Sonny adds, however, historically, major social change hasn't come from staying neutral. There's applause. Dwayne responds calmly. And it also hasn't come from celebrities tweeting. That draws a mix of laughter and applause. Sunny smiles faintly. That's not what I'm suggesting. I know, he says. But there's an assumption that visibility equals effectiveness. I disagree. The audience listens intently. Sunny leans in one more time. Do you think you're being misunderstood? Or do you think you're intentionally avoiding alignment? There it is again, direct. Dwayne's voice becomes firmer than it has been all segment. I think, he says slowly, that I don't owe anyone political alignment. The audience erupts into applause. Sunny holds. Steady. But you do owe honesty. And I've been honest, he replies. She doesn't speak for a second. The silence is thick. Then Whoopi finally steps in more assertively. Okay, we're not going to solve national politics at this table today. The audience laughs nervously. Dwayne leans back again, posture composed but clearly engaged. Sunny gives a small nod. Fair. But she adds one more line. I just believe clarity builds trust. Dwayne looks at her steadily. And I believe character builds trust, he says. The audience claps loudly again, louder than before. The exchange doesn't feel explosive. It feels definitive. The kind of back and forth where neither side backs down, but both stand firm. Whoopi glances at the clock off camera and says, We're almost out of time. Joy exhales. That went somewhere. The audience laughs again. But the atmosphere is still charged. Not hostile charged. And as they prepare to transition to the final minutes of the segment, you can sense that whatever closing remarks come next are going to matter. Because neither of them looks like they're done yet. Whoopi glances toward the producer again, and then back to the table. All right, she says, voice steady but firm. We're almost out of time. I want to give Dwayne a chance to close this out. The audience claps lightly, still feeling the weight of everything that's been said. Dwayne nods. He doesn't rush. He doesn't smile for effect. He just speaks. I appreciate the questions, he says. Even the tough ones. Especially the tough ones. Because they come from caring. Sunny watches him closely. But I want to make something clear, he continues. I'm not here to avoid responsibility. I'm not here to dodge accountability. I'm here to remind people that change doesn't only happen in headlines. It happens in classrooms, in homes, in communities, and yes, sometimes in private meetings that don't get posted online. The audience claps, louder now. Sunny nods slightly, though her expression remains thoughtful. And I respect that you push for clarity, Dwayne adds, turning to her directly. We may disagree on approach, but I respect the intention. There's a small pause. Sunny finally speaks, calmer than before. And I respect that you stayed in the conversation. Not everyone does. That line gets a mix of applause and knowing laughter. Joy leans back. That's true. Whoopi smiles. We've had a few exits over the years. The audience laughs, tension easing just a bit. Sunny folds her hands. I'll say this. We don't have to agree on tactics. But I think we agree that people deserve fairness and dignity. Dwayne nods. We absolutely agree on that. There's a genuine moment there. Not staged. Not overly warm. But real. Whoopi looks at the camera. And that's what this table is for. Conversations. Not always comfortable ones. The audience claps again, this time stronger, more unified. Joy jumps in with a lighter tone. Now, can we talk about the movie before the producers panic? Laughter breaks out across the studio. Dwayne smiles again, the tension finally easing from his shoulders. Yes, please. They spend the final couple of minutes discussing the film, quick, upbeat, controlled. It feels almost surreal compared to the intensity that came before it. And then the show wraps. Dwayne Johnson, everybody. Whoopi says as the audience stands and applauds. He stands, shakes hands again, hugs Whoopi, nods respectfully to Sunny. The exchange between them is brief but direct. Quiet words that microphones don't catch. The camera fades out. But that's not where the story ends. Within minutes of the segment airing, clips start circulating online. Short clips. 10 seconds here. 15 seconds there. I don't owe anyone political alignment. Silence and stepping back are not the same thing. Character builds trust. On social media, reactions explode. Some viewers praise Dwayne for staying calm under pressure. Posts read, he handled that with class. Didn't let himself get cornered. That's how you debate without yelling. Others side with Sunny. She asked fair questions. Influence comes with responsibility. He avoided specifics. The clip of Sunny saying strength without access still leaves people locked out trends heavily too. Comment sections fill with arguments, Long threads debating celebrity activism, accountability, and public influence. Entertainment blogs run headlines about a heated exchange on The View. Political commentators dissect the moment frame by frame. Was he dodging? Was she pushing too hard? Was it respectful disagreement or subtle confrontation? By the afternoon, hashtags related to both their names are trending. Behind the scenes, according to reports from audience members who later post online, there wasn't yelling during commercial breaks. No dramatic walk-offs. Just serious conversation. One audience member tweets, "They kept talking during the break. It wasn't fake. It was intense but respectful." Another writes, "The room was quiet. You could feel people thinking." Producers from the show later release a short behind-the-scenes clip of the hosts laughing with Dwayne after the taping. It doesn't erase the tension, but it shows there wasn't personal hostility. The next day, Sunny briefly addresses the segment on air. She says, "We can disagree and still respect each other. That's the point." Dwayne posts a short message online. Grateful for real conversations. Growth comes from dialogue. No attacks. No follow-up jabs. But the public debate keeps going. On talk radio, callers argue about whether celebrities should publicly endorse candidates. On podcasts, analysts break down the moment Dwayne said, "I don't owe anyone political alignment," calling it either empowering or evasive. The clip racks up millions of views within 24 hours. And here's what makes the moment stand out. No one stormed off. No one shouted. No one lost control. It wasn't explosive. It was controlled intensity. Two strong personalities. Two different philosophies. One live table. Some viewers say Dwayne shut the conversation down by refusing to be boxed into labels. Others argue Sunny refused to let him stay comfortable. But what really happened? A real conversation unfolded on live television. Unscripted. Unfiltered. And for a few minutes, the usual promotional script disappeared, replaced by something raw and grounded. And that's why people can't stop talking about it. Because in a media world full of rehearsed sound bites, this felt unscripted. It felt uncomfortable. It felt human. So now we want to hear from you. Was Dwayne right to draw a boundary and refuse political alignment? Was Sunny right to demand more clarity from someone with that much influence? Did the conversation feel fair or one-sided? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to Echo Stars for more real talk show stories.